Council resolution was voted unanimously with the 5 abstentions, the 5 abstaining countries representing a majority of the population of planet Earth. That's something to think about. So the warrior countries have begun bombing Canada among them. How do things work? How are we being manipulated here? Well, I'd like to say that in this engagement, that the Harper government and the people who create war, who are like him, learned from our huge demonstrations in the early 2000s. We had months and months and months to organize massive protests against the impending war on Iraq. Then, this time, they learned a lesson from us, and they acted rapaciously so fast that the peace movement, the anti-war movement, has hardly had time to turn around and organize large protests. And we realize as well that there are many people with lots of words flying around on the internet who can't make out what's going on and who have not been able to come to a conclusion about this. And it's very difficult for a lot of people, particularly when we admit that in Parliament, every one of the parliamentary members that was present in Parliament that day voted in favor of what we think is an illegal, unjust, and immoral and abrupt war on another country that we had no business dropping bombs on. Now, how do things work? Just in the lead up to our first song, I'd like to ask if anybody remembers seeing on television the pilot who came back to base, the Canadian pilot with his CF-18 who came back to base, and he has an interview with the media. Keep in mind that any invite from the Department of Defense to be interviewed is very carefully controlled by them. So on the day 1 of the bombing, when the Canada went out on its first mission, our planes came back. They didn't drop any bombs on day 1. Why? Because the pilot told us that they were afraid of causing collateral damage that day. Do you think that's so when the Americans unleashed frenzied cruise missile bombing in the nighttime? Do you think that our Canada was really concerned about collateral damage? Well, we're meant to think so, and we're reassured that anything that our country has done in this latest war is careful. It's when diplomacy didn't work, they had to go to bombing, too bad, but we're very careful about how we do it. Okay, the next night on television, the Department of Defense supplied footage that described what was going on because Canada's aircraft had gone out bombing. And I don't know if you remember seeing the green screen and the voice over the department spokesman talking about how Canada had successfully bombed an armories. Like, what does that look like? What does an armory look like? Well, that's what it's called. And then on the green screen you could see flashes of white smoke that meant that many of the bombs had reached their target. But what, I ask you, does a green screen indicate on TV? What it means, I think, is that Canada's doing night bombing. And if you want to guarantee collateral damage, then let the bombing begin at night. That is terror bombing. It is completely contrary to any sense of...
What part of the war is not fucking terror, you fool? What part of it, you fucking idiot?
Well, that's good. We got those opinions. So I urge everybody to take a good look at the media and how this is being covered. There's many currents coming at us, and for the Edmonton Coalition Against War and Racism thinks that everybody should be thinking on their feet because this is a hard issue, that we're here, we're opposing an unjust, illegal war on 2 countries now, Afghanistan and Libya. We say, bring the troops home now.